what can you tell us about the Dalvin of it all?
So here's the most important thing. As of right now, I have no text yet saying that he is signed. And I find that most interesting because that was the most surreal free agent visit I've seen in a very long time. For him to be there with the fans, them saying sign the contract, for him to be talking to Woody Johnson. Also, when I saw that video, my first thought was just go in the building and sign the piece of paper because it feels like you're already part of the team. But before he went to the Jets, Jeremy Fowler reported the Patriots were interested in trying to get him to visit. He has said playing in Miami would be a Cinderella story. So
that's his hometown?
Because he's from Florida. So yeah. I find it very interesting that he hasn't signed yet. I'm wondering, the Jets clearly would love to add him. Does Dalvin want the Jets as much as they want him, or is he using them for leverage, which I don't begrudge him that if he is. But it'll be interesting to see how the next 24, 48 hours.
He 100% should sign with the Jets. From his perspective, it's the best team that he could go join that the three are reported to be the Jets, the Patriots, and the Dolphins. Number one, they're a true contender, real contender. Number two, he could step in, he knows the scheme, and three, immediate impact. This is a no-brainer. If those are the three teams. Now, I think the Cowboys should be a team that should have the conversation of adding Dalvin Cook, whether they can afford him or not. The question I have with the addition of Dalvin Cook to the Jets is, it's not a need, it's a luxury. What does it do for Breece Hall? Does this allow the Jets to ease Breece Hall back into the conversation? Their second-year running back at Iowa State who had the ACL injury. Dalvin Cook, we know, can play at an incredibly high level. And this would be a team that sits there and goes, we want to play 20-plus games this year, and so it makes sense to have depth. This is not a need. It's a luxury addition. But if you're the Jets, you should want Dalvin Cook. And if you're Dalvin Cook, you should be running to the Jets.
Marcus.
I agree with you, Dio and Kmart. Listen, here's the thing for me. When you think about Aaron Rodgers leaving Green Bay and what he was able to do with Aaron Jones, Dalvin Cook is in that same vein. And if you're trying to build a championship team, you already got the offensive coordinator with a lot of familiarity with Nathaniel Hackett. He understands how to use the back out of the backfield, which we saw Dalvin Cook do a lot of that in Minnesota with Kirk Cousins. You just add another dimension. This team is already stacking the whole pantry and cupboard like I've been doing this offseason. So you might as well add another piece to try to win a Super Bowl. And look, for as much of the talk about Aaron Rodgers coming back for another year after this, why wouldn't you throw the kitchen sink at trying to win the Super Bowl this particular year? You had another dynamic offensive weapon. It's a guy that can get the ball. It's a guy that you can get the ball out of your hands quickly because we don't necessarily know how good this offensive line is going to be at the immediate start of the season. So Dalvin Cook would alleviate that as well. To Dan's point, it's a no-brainer. I was thinking the same thing with the Cowboys. I promise you. I put it in my notes yesterday. The
I just don't know if they can afford him.
Cook, that's the problem. It depends on what he's asking for. But that was another destination that came to mind as well.
So that is my big question, the money. Because we all say from a roster standpoint, the Jets make a lot of sense. They make the most sense, possibly winning a championship. But as we've seen with running backs right now, it's not just about trying to win a championship. You also want to get paid.
As much money as you can, sure.
So for Dalvin, the Jets may make sense on paper, but what does the paper actually say?
I think two parts of it is, for the Dallas conversation, Zach Martin holding out, there's no shot that they could pay Dalvin Cook what he could potentially get from the Jets and not pay Zach Martin. Two, Rodgers' pay cut is a big impact in this. I'll go back to the conversation of this impact on Breece Hall. I think Breece Hall is one of these young backs that is going to break out if he's healthy. But does adding Dalvin Cook stunt his growth and development, or do they sit there and go, we want Dalvin, we expect to play in games into late January or February, this is 20-game season, and we need as much depth as possible?
I think depth is the key here. I'll finish it by saying this. There are three things you can't have too much of. You can't be too handsome, you can't be too rich, and you can't have too many running backs in the NFL because one of them is going to get hurt as sure as the day is long.
Oh, he doesn't have any of them.
No, the man's got all three.
I was about to say, I was about to say, I got too much of both of the first two you mentioned. I got too much of those.
Fair enough. All right, let me get to the other piece of this thing here, because this set the world on fire. Now, let me take you back quickly for the setup here. Remember the comments that Sean Payton made last week? He kind of walked them back a little, but the comments were the comments in USA Today Sports. Among them, he was talking about Nathaniel Hackett, who's now the offensive coordinator of the Jets, who was last year the head coach of the Broncos. And he said, I'm going to be ticked off if this is not a playoff team. Everything I heard about last season, we're doing the opposite. Everybody's got a little stink on their hands. It's not just Russell Wilson. It was a poor offensive line. It might have been one of the worst coaching jobs in the history of the NFL. That's how bad it was. Again, Payton has since walked those back a little. We've got that guy now. Are you kidding me? Aaron Rodgers? That is the best thing I've ever heard in my entire life. How do I make that a ringtone? I want that to be my here. Kmart, I can't do it. Make that my ringtone. I want Aaron Rodgers saying, keep my coach's name out of it. Can you imagine any quarterback the Jets have had in the last 50 years saying that? You'd laugh hysterically
not many
at
people
any
can,
of them.
Right.
That's our guy.
Yeah.
Dan, go.
The most first of all, this dude's he's gonna throw for 500 yards.
500 yards week 5.
What's most fascinating about this interaction for me is how Aaron Rodgers has not taken over this team, he's taken over this organization.
Yes.
Like, this has become Aaron Rodgers' organization in a short period of time. And not only is he going to be incredibly motivated with the chip on his shoulder, he now is basically grabbing every single teammate, coach, personnel person and said, I got your back. I got your back. Like, I'm going to be the face of all of this and just follow me. And I think for everything that has been said about this guy's character over the last 2 years in the media, so to speak, we're seeing a very different vantage point. And this is now his organization. And that's a big deal when you're trying to win a Super Bowl.
Swagoo.
What's today, y'all? July 31st, I think.
Yes.
I'm back on TV, and I'm going to drop a bombshell. I like Aaron Rodgers now. I don't know. I like the way he's doing this in New York. It was so bad, and y'all know how much I hated his actions in Green Bay. And obviously, it was to get out of Green Bay. And I think he did still a lot of things, in my opinion, wrong on his departure in Green Bay. But obviously, he's in a place where he wants to be now. And it's a place where, to Dan's point, he wants to not only be the quarterback of this team, he wants to be the face of the franchise. Dan and I have had numerous conversations about quarterbacks needing to be the CEO of whatever organization you in. Well, Woody Johnson and ownership, and obviously Robert Saleh and Nathaniel Hackett knows that this guy now is fully invested. And Dan, I don't know if you remember this, and Kmart as well. When Aaron Rodgers signed with the Jets, all I wanted to know was, how committed is he before the season starts?
Yeah.
And he's already, like, taking that to the 100th degree.
Yeah.
We expect him to play well. Nobody had a question about if Aaron Rodgers is going to play well. But now when you galvanize and you pull a team behind you and you build rapport and you spend times at games in the summer and you build rapport with players and Sauce is giving you chains, and now you said, keep my coach name out of your damn mouth. Aaron Rodgers ready to rock in New York, and this is the guy that we needed before the season started in order for the Jets to have a chance to win the Super Bowl.
Because it almost reminds me of Tom Brady when he went to Tampa Bay, where all of a sudden, I like Tom Brady. Tom Brady's funny. Tom Brady's relatable. Right now, listen, this may be a new family for Aaron Rodgers, but he pretty much said, yo, I can talk about my family all I want, but you can't. And I love that attitude. And I spoke to Robert Saleh, Dan, to your point about who Aaron Rodgers is. I don't know Aaron personally. Yeah. But what Robert Saleh said is, whatever the outside perception is, I can tell you he is a guy who is thoughtful. He is a guy who cares about his teammates. I was at practice. I watched him spend just as much time with defensive players as Zach Wilson, as his offensive line. He is a guy who is fully invested, and he speaks highly of his teammates, and he cares. That is a Rodgers that we have not seen publicly in a very long time, and he seems relaxed to say, Don't worry, I got this. I'm gonna put Sean Payton in his place real quick without even raising my voice.
I think another aspect is this is such a young football team too.
Yes.
And so he's teaching and showing. It's very Bill Belichick in a way. I'm going to use the media to kind of talk to my football team. He's teaching these young guys, this is how we're going to handle this. I also think he's doing it because he knows they're really good. He's doing this because he knows this football team is legit and that they're going to have every chance to be playing in January with the chance to go to the AFC title game and or the Super Bowl. And so he can feel that confidence. He can talk confidently because of that.
Marcus, quick final thought. Go.
That's the thing too. Like let me disbar this notion of people that watch us. Like over the years, people have thought personally I didn't like Aaron Rodgers. Man, I don't care about personally not liking Aaron Rodgers. I was talking about how he was operating and how it looked and how it affected his team, which it absolutely did. Now you come over and you're in a better situation in his mind, obviously, and he's in a situation where, to Dan's point again, we can win. And we can win big, and he needs that for his career. Aaron Rodgers is no fool. He understands what he needs to get accomplished in New York, and he's doing everything to try to get it done.
I will finish by once again saying the fact that Marcus and Dan are wearing the same shirt is the only thing I like better. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.